Hi everyone, this is Jess, aka Sketchwriter Jess. If you see me and I keep looking up there, it's because this little lizard just crawled into my window blinds. He's so adorable. But I don't really want him down here with the wires. I don't want to deal with that. Um, so if you keep seeing me do that, that's what's going on. um, I decided that today this week I decided instead of doing a mental health check video and a spirit talk, that I would like combine the two. Um, in fact, I may just start doing that because to me they kind of go together. I think if your religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs don't help you, like if they hurt you, if you feel like they're painful and they're not giving you the support you need, that can cause mental health problems. So I think having spirituality or any religion entwined with your mental health is a good idea. Like entwined in a healthy way, not things that are like way out there to the point where they don't make sense. Not even your intuition thinks it makes sense. There are just some things that are just ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, I'm making this video. Uh, there's been some things going on. Not with me, but I have friends that have had some issues. Issues with mental health stuff, and they've been through some really tough stuff. Um, I think if somebody feels like the world is too heavy, like it's getting too hard to deal with life, I think that the one thing that they need to do is reach out, and they also need to get therapy. Like, they absolutely must get therapy before they do anything else, because it's the therapist who is the one who can provide the best information to a psychiatrist about prescribing any meds needed. So, if you have something like that, something scary happen, like somebody may have tried to commit suicide or something, then, like, call somebody to get help and then talk to a therapist. Make sure you get into therapy um, right away. So I just wanted to get that done. Um, I've had some mixed views on this Lionsgate Portal thing. Yesterday was the peak. It started on the 26th of July and it ends on August 12th. And brought back a lot of old wounds, a lot of things from when I used to live in another state, a lot of things of dealing with people who, I guess they thought they were helping me, but I let them harm me. I let their words hurt me. I let their words make me feel less than them. And, the tables have turned. That's all I'm going to say. The tables have turned, and now people are trying to get information on things, and I don't know, there's lots of resources out there. Yeah, I just feel like I have a mental health issue. I'm a bipolar 1, and in my past, I actually did have a suicide attempt when I was in college, but my parents didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it because it was an attempt, and it never got carried out. Um, so it was one of those moments where, like, I decided right away not to do it. Like, I had hesitated before doing it, and I felt like there was a presence. There was like some presence that was like, don't do this. Like, just don't do it. And that sparked something in me that made me want to live. And I think, even when people take it far, even when people actually attempt to do it and they still reach out for help, that is very strong. It's very noble to do that. Um, so it's just, hearing about suicide attempts is scary. Um, no matter who it is, no matter whether it's somebody who you've had a falling out with, or if you were best friends with them or whatever, that's tough, you know. Um, but I haven't had suicidal thoughts in probably, God, I think at least 5 years. I mean, I've been pretty stable. Um, I had a really difficult time when I was on Geodon. I was drinking all the time and I was having some issues with that, but I don't remember having suicidal thoughts. I had more thoughts of more like I just wanted what I was going through to end. It was different than like an actual wanting to escape, like wanting to kill myself. It was more like I wanted to be numb, and I think that may be different. It may not be for anybody for whatever they're going through. So, uh, I mean, I'm like crying right now because it just makes me sad. Think of somebody uh, going through that, but um, I think when I was going through my worst episodes, I didn't have a suicidal component, but I had more of like these depressions where it didn't matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. It was like no matter what I did, I couldn't get through it. I couldn't do the right things, or at least what I thought were the right things to get through to the next day and start work all over again. Like my work was doing my crafting. And so like I would make lots of stuff, but like I kept like starting lots of different projects. And a lot of times people weren't very supportive. They thought it was me being lazy. Um, and they pretty much let me know it. Um, uh, but this Lionsgate Portal just brought back all these memories, and then like found out some things, and it was unexpected. And so what it comes down to, I think, is once you go through something where it's like it seems like there's a point of no return. I think the lesson that I've learned here, like looking at the situation that I just described, that even if you think there's a point of no return, there's always a return. It may not be how you expect. In fact, I can talk about this about my mom. And she didn't have a suicide attempt, she had a heart attack. And there was like a moment where there was a point of no return. I mean, like, okay, if this and this happens, then she's gonna die. And if she had died, it would have been a point of no return in terms of her being here physically. But her spirit I believe her spirit would live on. And I think in the Jewish tradition, they believe that. She's Jewish, so I think they do believe that there is spirit. Um, it's not the same as like with Christianity, where there's like a whole bunch of other elements plus that kind of almost like middlemen, you know, to the to spiritual realization. It's a little different. It's more like man and God. So like you'd immediately be welcomed by God and maybe the angels, the seraphim angels. But it's similar. It's similar to Christianity because Jesus was Jewish. Anyways, with my mom, there was a point of no, there was like a point where there really was a point of no return that she might not have come back, but she did come back, and um, sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. But I think the thing I've learned is that there is always a return of some sort. It may not be what you think. It could go in your favor. It could go in their favor. It could go in the universe's favor. I think that we as a nation are in a real crisis right now. And I think that's weighing heavily on people too. You know, a lot of hate in this country right now. Just a lot of just hate. Just pure hate towards people who are just trying to make a better life for themselves. It's scary. It's like how have we evolved as people, you know, like, you know, there are people who were warriors in the civil rights movement. There are warriors like in Stonewall, and there are warriors in the women's movement. And all of a sudden now it's all gone. It's like there's no more warriors, it's just predators. It's scary. And like a lot of people are trying to figure out what they can do to help. A lot of times I will admit I don't watch the news anymore because I feel helpless. I feel like what can I do for the people coming through on the border trying to get in away from the danger that they face every day. And then you got people in this country who are citizens who are being detained because they look a certain way. There are raids being planned to round people up, and you know, it's this this hatred is weighing on everybody, and I think a lot of people, they may have their own stuff going on, but it could affect them. I mean, it could affect them. It could make them feel like everything is too difficult, and how are we going to get through this? But I think one thing that what I've heard with the Lionsgate Portal, there's like a planetary alignment of some sort. It makes like a triangle, I think. So that creates a portal. And it's supposed to be like this energy that's exchanged through the portal of people regaining their balance by facing their old wound, facing the old stuff. And I think that one thing that I did last night that was really good, I have a friend named Jennifer. I'll give her a shout out because she's just awesome. Swords and Cups Esoterics is her shop. She's on Etsy. And on Instagram, she pulls cards sometimes. I think like every week she pulls cards. I don't know what's going on with my skin. Anyways, she pulled a card that said, call on Archangel Michael for intentions, to set intentions. So I did. I talked to my spirit guide Lauren, and I journal to her, and and she said, do it while you meditate. Like, just sit and meditate and call on him, and then you'll get like a pull. You'll get an intuition. I mean, it's not really that you'll hear the person, like that you'll hear the angel. It's more like, at least for me, I don't like hearing voices, so I've told them, I said, I'm not going to listen to voices. So I call on him, and what I felt was I needed to replace some of my old thought patterns with new ones. One way to do that was to replace things like, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough at this to do it, or I don't have what this person has. They have all this stuff and I don't have what they have. And then replace it with, I can do this. If I don't know how to do it, I can learn to do it. I may not have what these people have, but I have what I have. I have the things that mean something to me. Things that are dear to me, that I wouldn't trade for anything. Not for a new house, not for a new car, not for a trip to Vegas, not, I mean, so, I wouldn't trade what I have for anything. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that comparison thinking. I mean, to me, a lion is very ferocious, right? Lion's really ferocious, and he's going to attack you if you're in his way. And I think what this portal is something, it like attacks you, but not, and I'm not saying this has to do with the suicide attempt of somebody that I know 6 degrees of. Has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about the old stuff that I was thinking. And it kind of was, I'm like thinking of it at the same time as this. But anyways, it attacks you, but in a way that it questions you. It's kind of like a teacher you had in school, and they were always picking on you, like getting you to answer questions, and always pushing you. Well, it's like that, I think. So if you think of it that way, then I think you'll be able to deal with it better. Now, some people may be having a different experience. I don't know. Maybe some people are having it, and it might be different in terms of like any pain or anything. They may be feeling something different. Maybe they already dealt with all those issues, so they may not be feeling anything. If they dealt with a lot of the old issues that were weighing on them, then it's possible they didn't deal with anything. Okay, sorry about that. There's like this pop-up on it. So I feel like if you think of this astrological placement event in a way that it's helpful, then I don't think you're going to feel the pain. You're going to feel pain, but it's not going to be startling. Like, I think there are some alignments in like with the moon and the earth that are tough. Like for women, we have our periods, and some of us have it worse than others. I'm just gonna say it. And mine are pretty bad. I know people who have it worse. I know people who don't feel anything when they get theirs. But I would say that part of it could be my chart. I have Cancer rising. I have an Aries sun and an Aries moon. So the moon weighs real heavy in my chart. So I kind of consider myself having Aries and Cancer as my signs. It probably doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to me because I don't totally fit in Aries and I don't totally fit in Cancer, but when I put the two together, it makes sense. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. But I think that, like there's like when you have a mental illness, especially if you're surrounded by people who don't have one, people who may not even have any health problems, or maybe they have health problems, but they're like physical health problems, so they get different treatment. I'm sorry, they do. They get different treatment from people than people with mental illness. When you have a mental illness, people look down on you. It sucks. I mean, I've been through it. I know that for a fact. So, when it comes to, getting through that, one thing that can happen is you start kind of being like, well, I'm on the outside in, and I'm comparing my life to theirs. I should be at this point where they are. Like I've had people who are the same age as me, and they had lots of things that I didn't have. A job, a car, a house, husbands, being able to go on vacation all the time, kind of thing. Well, not all the time, they had to work, but they go on vacation when they wanted, when they had the time off. And like I don't have the money to do that. I mean, I haven't been on a vacation on my own in I don't know how long. So I've been saving up for it. I save $20 a month from my check that I get in the mail, my disability, every month. I save it up, and I figure once I save up a certain amount, I'm going to take like a 1 or 2 day vacation on my own and just enjoy myself and enjoy exploring a new town. And it's really important to have things like that to be able to clear your head and not always be stuck in the grind. And I think one thing that I've thought about during this time is I'm not the only one going through a grind. Everyone goes through a grind. Even people who seem like they have it all together. Like, I could look at a couple and think, wow, they got it together. They are just have it together. But they could be experiencing things I have no idea what they are, and they could just be going through things that I have no idea what they are. So, everybody goes through something. And I think, unfortunately, I think some people with mental illness, I mean, I'm one of them, I constantly think, well, I'm worse off than this person is. They get special treatment. I don't get I get special treatment, but it's like they get special treatment from their friends, And then, like, I say stuff, and it's like, oh, come on, you can get out of that. You can do better than that. Oh, yeah, you can get a job. You can do that. It is a constant barrage of, you don't have it together. At some point, to be sane, like, to be stable, I have to say stable. I guess I can't say sane because technically I take medicine and I have a mental illness, so I'm stable. And I don't drink anymore, so that really helps not being stable. That helps being stable. Helps not being stable? Did I just say that? Helps with being stable. I think that when it comes to yourself and your situation, if you have a mental illness, one, to keep yourself stable, you need to remember that everybody goes through something. Everybody has problems. Everybody goes through a grind. You don't know what people are going through on a day-to-day basis, or I'll say a night-to-night basis, because at night is when a lot of those thoughts come to haunt you. And then also, what you have is different from what they have, because you're meant to have different things than they are, because you're on a different path. If you think of it that way, that you're on your own path. Or as like one reader I like to watch her reading, she says, stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane, do your own thing. Don't be worrying about what the other people are doing. Don't crack on them. Don't say how ridiculous they are, and then and when people say it to you, just let it go. Just let it go. And it's something to keep in mind when you feel like, well, these guys, they have it all together. They have everything. And, like what I realize is I have everything too. I have everything too. And, I'd be heartbroken if my mom passed away. I'd be heartbroken. But, when people pass on, when it's their time, it's their time. Things can happen anytime. And so I don't take it for granted that she's here. I celebrate every day that she's here. I'm sure sometimes we step on each other's toes. We're mother and daughter. We're gonna have little spats every once in a while. But we've been pretty good now. But you never know when it's somebody's last day. You never know. It could be any time, and it could be something. It could be a car accident. It could be anything. You have to celebrate every day with your people, even if you just give them a phone call or a text, or you live in another state and they live in another state, so you you talk to each other, check in with them. A lot of people feel alone these days, and I think a lot of that has to do with social media too. A lot of reliance on social media to talk to people. Excuse me, I can't stop burping. I shouldn't be laughing, but this is just a heavy subject matter. It's just very heavy. So, to take something away from everything that's been brought up here for discussion, I think that people need to appreciate what they have and appreciate the people in their lives every single day. And whether they're here or not, whether they've passed on or if they're still living, just appreciate everybody. That is how you can keep from being lonely in your toughest times. And I wish the people in my life well who've been dealing with suicidal issues. Anybody who goes through that, it's tough. It's a really tough thing. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it, and I figured making this video was probably the best thing I could do in this situation. If they watch it or something, maybe they get something from it. I don't know. Um, but uh, I think that intention setting is a good way to move through the pain. So one thing I want to show you is knitting. I did some knitting. I'm making a cocoon, like a sweater, and I'm doing like a lace stitch. It's called Polka Dot in the Vogue magazine. I mean, Vogue Stationery has it's a lace stationery, and I modified it slightly just because I felt like, just for my comfort. I like to knit for comfort, so it wasn't comfortable. And so I modified it, and I think it looks pretty good so far. I won't really know until it really gets larger, like how it's really going to hang, how it's going to show. And I'm using Red Heart neon stripes. I think they still make this. The Super Saver stripes. Now, I am going to have a post on my blog, but I'm not going to mention the suicidal stuff. I figured the video really covers it better, and it's it's like one-on-one, like I'm talking to people one-on-one. So I'd rather not like have like talk about suicide on my blog. But what I will do is I'm going to talk about the Lionsgate. I'm going to post pictures of this. Maybe talk about some intention setting. I'll certainly talk about the about Archangel Michael, calling on him and meditating and stuff. For my site, it goes better if I deal more with the spiritual part. The mental health aspect is good too. I mean, don't get me wrong, that needs to be there too. As I said, they kind of go together. And my tarot readings really have an element of mental health to them. They have an element of making sure you take care of yourself. So, I'm planning on having that up sometime today or tomorrow. I have to see. I may need to relax a bit more, so it may not really be up until 11 or midnight or something like that. I brought this stuff up because I felt like there is such a stigma with mental illness, and everybody thinks it's one size fits all, and that, oh yeah, people with mental illness, kill people. Well, people who are hateful with guns kill people, whether they have mental illness or not. I'm not saying a person can't have a mental illness and commit them, that if somebody has a mental illness that they won't commit a murder. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's most likely that anybody who commits mass shootings is just sociopath of some sort. So that is a mental illness, but it's not all the mental illnesses. And most people with a mental illness are law-abiding citizens. So to blame mass shootings on people with mental illness is wrong. I think when people first get diagnosed with a mental illness, they start thinking that way, that, oh, everybody's going to think that about me, that I'm like that I'm going to hurt somebody. And really, most people with mental illnesses don't do that. If anything, they hurt themselves. They'll spend 11 hours a day thinking about how they want to hurt themselves, or how they are upset about something that they did, than, spending 11 hours planning to kill people. That's the truth. So, I mean, if you get diagnosed with a mental illness, I'd say be thankful that they diagnosed it now before any more damage happens. Because when I got diagnosed, I was really on my way to being damaged. I was diagnosed because I had a psychotic break. I had gone off an antidepressant, but I was also my bipolar was crowning. The psychotic part was really getting up there, and the going cold turkey off of the antidepressant made me go into the stratosphere. I would have had a break anyways, but going off that pill really cemented it. And I still recover from it. It's like I was on acid. It's crazy. And I would never want anybody to go through that, because it wasn't a fun trip. It was a scary trip. It was a trip where I knew what I was doing was wrong. A lot of times I was saying weird stuff. I was hearing things and I thought people were saying certain things and they weren't. I was hallucinating them. I was seeing hallucinations. So not only did I have auditory ones, I saw things. And this is not my psychic stuff that I'm talking about. This is real hallucinations that had nothing to do with anything that exists. It was all my brain chemicals being screwed up. And for lots of people with mental illness, their brain chemicals are screwed up and they need the medicine to control that. That happens for people with depression and people with bipolar depression. In fact, lots of people. I think maybe for OCD, maybe for anxiety. I don't know about schizophrenia. That one's been on the fence, I think. I don't want to elaborate on it because I don't know enough about it. But a lot of the mental illnesses, they use medicine because it balances out the chemical problems. And that's why I'm on meds for the rest of my life, because mine has moods that have to be stabilized, or else I could go into mania again. Real mania where it could go off the rails, and that could be a disaster. I could be driving around town, seeing things that aren't there, and I could have an accident, and that could be a problem. So, I think the thing to think about with this spiritual stuff going on, and all of the stuff that's happened in the world, all the scary stuff that's happened, is when you have a moment where there was a point of no return, and you return, however it happens, then be thankful for the return and set your intentions, set the good intentions that you have. I mean, if you have a habit of kind of, as somebody I knew in my past said, poor mouthing yourself, saying bad stuff about yourself, if you do that, you need to replace it with something that is supportive of yourself. But see, that's where therapy comes in and can help you with that. So that's why I recommend, there are people who don't have a mental illness, but they have a therapist, because it just helps them to get everything out that they may not want to burden their friends with. So they talk to somebody who's trained to deal with that stuff. Um, so, I mean, for a long time, I didn't have therapy, but that's because the state wasn't providing it. But I finally spoke up and said, this isn't right. So they did get me a therapist in town, which changed everything for me. And you know, I have a therapist now, and she's amazing. And, you know, considering everything I've been through, treatment I've gotten from people, I wouldn't trade my experiences. I just honor them and just say, I got through it. They're not experiences I'd want to go through again, but I lived them and I got through it. And I think that is what anybody who goes to a point of return place, point of no return place, that's another thing to keep in mind. So I hope to anybody who's going through any kind of feeling like the world is too much, everything is too heavy, that, you know, they're thinking of committing suicide, or you need to reach out. You just need to reach out. When I had done it when I was in college, I think I reached out to God. I reached out to Spirit, because that's what I had. And then the minute I had stopped contemplating it and attempting it, somebody came in. Somebody came right in. And they didn't know what I was doing, but they were scared to death. They were just not expecting me there, and they were a very spiritual person. I have a feeling they understood what I was doing in there. And it was like a student kitchen. So, I mean, so it was one of those moments where I was like I'm so thankful I didn't put that person through pain. Like, they felt discomfort because they didn't know what I was doing there, but they didn't find me, you know, in a bad situation or something. So, I mean, people have spirit as well. It's like there's absolutely nobody there to reach out to. You have spirit. You have, think of ancestors that you love so much. You have pets. You have animals. You can think of animals. You can think of anything that'll make you feel better. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's so easy for you to say. I'm only saying it because I've been through times that have been so scary, and I was desperate, that if somebody had told me these things before, I would have tried them. So I'm telling you now, just don't even, just feel however you're going to feel about it. You can take it or leave it. That's all I'll say about that. So I will have a blog post on the Lionsgate Portal. I'll have like all the really good stuff, like all the very extremely positive things, and maybe I'll say, you know, if you're having suicidal thoughts, reach out to somebody. So I'll say that, but I'm not gonna say as much as I did here, because I just don't think it comes off right. So I think that's it for now. I will see you the tarot reading. I think it's going to be How Do I Talk to Him reading. I know people really like that. So I'm going to do one of those again. It's pick a card. So I'll see you then. Bye.